going to take this, it's ironed out, we're going to fold it over, and then where this seam is, we're going to fold that under. And you have a choice now. You can do this on the machine. You can just sew it a very small, very close to the edge line along there, and it will be machine done. I prefer actually to do it hand sewn. So I'm going to go ahead and hand sew this, but it's the seam line, this seam line that attaches it. We pull it back over, pull it tight because we want it to be tight, but we don't want this fabric to be bunched up at all. Pull it over, fold it to where the line is, and we're going to stitch it along this line to stitch down. Okay, I'm doing the binding now. So I've taken the binding, I've folded it over, and then I've folded it back over so it's just above this seam right here that the sewing machine did. So I've got a little fold, enough to make sure that it doesn't ravel on me, that I got enough to catch the fabric. And I'm putting it just so that it's, well, really about even with the machine stitching. Then I'm going to take a pin. I'm going to place it so that it holds it in place. Then I'm going to start sewing. And what I want to make sure of, you see I'm holding it down with my thumb, I'm holding it folded over down with my thumb, and what I want to make sure of is that I'm catching the fabric just above this machine stitching. This is the machine stitching right here. I'm using a ladder stitch. So what happens is I go into the other fabric right where I came out of the first. So I am taking stitches that are about the same length as my machine stitches, and I came out of there right here, out of the backing right here, so I'm putting it into the binding at exactly the same place. If you're very diligent about making sure that it goes out of the same place, you're going to end up with stitches that are invisible. It doesn't really go this slowly. I'm just showing you. It goes a lot more quickly than you think it does. And you end up with stitches. Pull them nice and taut, and you end up with a seam that you can't see the stitches, and it's very sturdy. It's not going to come undone. So I'm going to go ahead and continue to stitch this. Sew this binding down. And when I'm finished with this part, which is the first section, and the corresponding first section on the other end of the table runner, I'm going to get back with you about how we do the second piece to our binding. And you'll see I'm not worrying about getting this really nice and tight right now, because once I get about an inch and a half worth of stitches, you'll see what I do then. What I do then is pull the whole thing taut. Just pull it, and it all tightens up, it all closes up, and you're not even able to, you wouldn't be able to know whether this side or this side was the part that was sewn by machine.